Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Firstly, let me introduce myself. My name is Zulfa binti Zulkifli, metric number 2019204722. Regarding to this topic, customary land, firstly, I would like to start with define the meaning of adat. Okay, in the term of language, adat can be defined as a broad field that covering the way of life and culture in social, academic, political activities and religious belief. Adat also can be defined as a rule that has been practiced for generation, which is since ancient time in a society, which has become a law or a rule that must be obeyed. In this regard, we can say that adat or custom is the rule of every aspect of life which has become a law that must be obeyed and instead refer to the culture of the nation. Hence, tanah adat, or also called as customary land or ancestral land, can be understood as a piece of land that ruled by the law from the ancient time. In Malaysia, there are several kinds of customary land, which is first is customary land in Negeri Sembilan and Malacca, and the second is native customary land in Sabah and Sarawak. However, the study will only be focused on customary land in Negeri Sembilan and Nanning, Malacca, where they practice their own rule, which is known as adat pepatih. Adat pepatih is one of the customary land that can be found in Malaysia that reflect the traditional and cultural practice of the people. Adat pepatih is confined to Negeri Sembilan and some part of Melaka, which is Nanning. However, this part is not originally originated in Negeri Sembilan. It is brought from the practice in the land of Minangkabau, Sumatra, Indonesia. Based on the history, the name of adat pepatih is taken from the ruler name Datuk Pepatih Nan Sebatang. There are some people say that the adat pepatih was derived from a marriage that happened between adat pepatih and his wife, which were later discovered to be her own half sister. Firstly distributed by the Incestuous Union, the two mythical law giver of adat pepatih and adat Temanggung, which is Datuk Pepatih Nan Sebatang and Datuk Ketemanggunan, decide to divide the Minangkabau people into two main groups, which is the Bodi Caniago, the adat pepatih group, and the second is Kota Piliang. This is where adat pepatih started to strictly prohibited the marriage of people from the same suku as a lesson learned from their previous ancestor decreed incested incident. Adat pepatih is characterized as democratic as it exists in a peasant society, one that is organized matrilineally. It served women more in favor in this adat. Women's rights were put under the ancestral properties, and they are the one who will be entrusted to hold properties of the tribe. The adat pepatih differ from any adat that would favor the man's side, as this adat is a matrilineal and believe that women deserve to get the properties and land more than men, as they were the one who carry the blood of the tribe. This is because women are the one who carry and give birth to the people of the tribe. The ancestral properties were put under the women to reserve their rightful that they were left by men upon divorce. However, the matrimonial property was still divided according to the Islamic way. There are several principles in adat pepatih. The first principle is in tribe of the newborn must be based on the mother ancestral blood. This is because the one who carried the baby is believed to pass down the ancestral blood to the baby. In this principle, the newborn will later live and carry the woman's tribe and not the father's. Secondly, the family will live in the mother's tribe area. The woman will work on their ancestral land. Thirdly, the woman will be entrusted with ancestral properties, while man will be given authority to work and hold position in the adat. In adat pepatih, inherit wealth will be passed from the mother to her daughter, and if she does not have any daughter, it will be passed to her sister or the daughter of her sister or granddaughter of her sister. Fourthly, marriage among the same tribe were prohibited as the close relationship among the people in the same tribe were considered as sibling and they share the same bloodline. If any marriage among the same tribe happened eventually, the woman will lose all her ancestral properties and the man will lose his capability to hold any position in the adat. Also, husband shall not had many other women in that belongs to the same tribe as his current wife, and if the wife pass away, the children will be handed over to the wife family because the husband is considered not having the right of the children. Last principle is any foreign people which does not belong to any group but want to marry one of the tribe people or continue the inheritance of the ancestral properties left by their descendants may plead to be into one of the tribe as long as they promise to behave and consider the people in the tribe as their brother and sibling. This kind of evil is called berkedim.
Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. My name is Nabila binti Taji'i and my ID number is 2019612412. So right now I'm going to explain about customary land and the facts of it. In general, custom is a pattern of behavior accepted and expected conduct in a community. Meanwhile, customary land is a land that indigenous people have inherited from their ancestors since they arrived in the area, which the broader population is unaware of. Furthermore, customary land is the foundation of indigenous people's lives that are built and it is managed in accordance with their traditions. Adat, an unwritten traditional rule that governs all aspects of a person's life from birth to death, and it is the name given to indigenous customary law in Malaysia and Indonesia. However, adat differ according to locality and also between ethnic groups. Indigenous peoples frequently own customary land. It is also part of the Bumiputra community, which is a Malay group. In addition, Malaysia has embraced the common law system with land tenure referring to the legal structure in which land is owned by a person or a group of people who are referred to hold land. This specifies who is allowed to use the land, for how long, and under what condition land ownership is legal. Land ownership rules in particular define how property rights over land are apportioned, utilized, transferred, and administered in a given community. Landowners in particular may be governed by legal or informal norms or customs. Simply expressed, the norms of customary land ownership are based on a group of people's commonly accepted traditions and habits. Now, let's move to the customary lands rule. There are many existing customary land rules in the country, as there are people who still practice customary law in Malaysia, such as the prohibition of transferring ownership of the land to an outsider or a person who is not a member of the indigenous group. Another rule is that land held by a family is passed down within the same family. But the most notable commonality is that the land has been used and occupied by the ancestor of indigenous people since time immemorial. In spite of that, Malay customary law can be further separated into two categories, which is adat perpatih and adat temenggung. In various ways, the use of custom differs in both cases. The perpatih custom is classified as democratic, since it exists in a matrilineal peasant culture. Adat temenggung, on the other hand, is portrayed as aristocratic and authoritarian. Aristocracy because laws are produced by government decrees, and autocracy because laws tend to define crime as a breach of government powers. The per party custom is matrilineal in nature as it allows women to inherit their family's land inheritance. This is because inherited land is believed to belong to a race rather than a person, and the property's caretakers are female descendants of that race. Women members get inheritance such as land, lineage, inheritance, and election to the YDP and board of directors. Furthermore, women members have the right to hold their property in trust for their families. Meanwhile, the Adat Temenggong is patrilineal since it offers male members an advantage. In comparison to Adat Perpati, males prefer Adat Temenggong obviously because it is following the same inheritance distribution principle as the Quran. Men are more significant in Temenggong customary law because they are regarded the family's successors, similar to Farah-in-law, which specifies that if a man is the family's head, his son will inherit his father's property. People are required to obey customary law in the legal distribution of wealth. Since customary land law is included in customary law, the mechanism used to regulate it is determined by the law applicable to the location. For example, until today, Negeri Sembilan has followed Adat Perpati traditional law. Alright, so that's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nabila binti Syahbuddin. Matric number 2019230402. Okay, I will explain about the customary land inheritance according to the civil law and state enactments. So first is customary tenure enactment 1909. The effects of the enactment is to prevent the sales or transfer of customary land to different tribes and races. Land dealings must be approved by the board of the tribe involved, and the collector must ensure that transactions are carried out following the procedures prescribed by the enactment CTE 1909. The understanding that can be explained in this enactment is shown in customary land sales and mortgage transaction with outsider can be executed as long as it has not been offered to the members of the tribe in the mukim and circulated a month's notice where the land is placed. But it does not mean that they prevent the occurrence of sale transaction with outside parties if the members of the tribe do not accept the offer made by the seller of the land. So the landlord can sell the land to outside parties. When the land has been transferred to an outdoor parties, the land previously called customary lands is no longer used if sold to an outsider party. This can show an orderly system of controlling the land area in Negeri Sembilan. This enactment was enacted to protect customary land from idle and having no owner. Therefore, awareness needs to be spread so that the community in Negeri Sembilan always take care of the priority given to their respective tribes to be given to the future generation well. In addition, the act that can be associated with real estate is the Customary Tenure Enactment 215. This act applies to the administration of common lands to this day. So this enactment is for the administration of customary areas in the districts of Kuala Pilah, Jempol, Jelebu, Rembau, Tampin and Mukim Gemas. So the content of the legal provisions of this chapter 215 is more detailed and precise than the previous law. For example, use an explicit ban on any form of transaction with external parties, whether Malaysian or non-Malaysian. So Dynamics of Law Section 4 empowers the collectors to make a verification in two circumstances, either through an investigation on its initiative or at the request of any interested party, after ensuring that the land in question is occupied and subject to custom and registered in the name of a woman members of the tribe. So, the customary land in Negeri Sembilan is very well cared for and made into precious land for Negeri Sembilan itself. Therefore, the community that adheres to the custom must understand that the custom is protected by law, and awareness must be high in defending the custom from continuing to disappear with times. So another enactment is Malay Reserve Land. Malay Reserve Land is an act which was first introduced on 1st January 1914 and came into force or use in the year by the Federated Malaysia States, which subsequently accepted the repeal and revision process in 1935 and introduced the Malay Reserve Enactment, which is still in use today. So, the goal of creating this law is to preserve land owned by Malaysian for centuries and prevent government-owned land in Malaysia reserves from being sold to non-Malays in any way. Negeri Sembilan is one of the states that use MRE, which also applies to common land. Therefore, all lands with customary lands are titled as Malay reserves. However, according to the study, Sulaiman Kadimi stated that Malay reserves land is not necessarily recorded as customary law in the titles of its product or title register or other legal provision. This matter is enshrined in the federal and state constitutions.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Aisyah Humaira binti Zulkifli, metric number 2019423396. Okay, now I will present about the customary land property management in Sharia perspective. Okay, the concept of property is include the division of inherited property or internal inheritance. The practice of customary land is based on the concept of nasab, which is believed in this customary practice. The matrilineal system in customary land become the source of division. The land is weighted to the lineage of the women. The women will be the party who will inherit the inheritance left and not the man. However, only the property with high inheritance status, which is in the form of customary land, inherited, since heredity is the property of the mother and will be passed on to the child, women and down. After that, the practice of adat pepatih in the division of property high inheritance in the form of customary land is not in conflict with Islam. As we know, only women from the family will inherit customary land and who is recorded as a nominee in customary land grant. As for the men, have no right to inherit and are only entitled to occupy and work the customary land as well as enjoy the results of his effort. However, referring to the status of customary land and its origins are found to be non-individual property, but the property belongs together with the tribe which cannot be transferred or traded. While as for the female nominee who became the heirs, it was only as a holder trust. Okay, next, according to the Mufti's Department of Negeri Sembilan, customary land is not privately owned It belongs to a tribe. Therefore, customary land ownership or nominee is only responsible in keeping the property from being sold or transferred to another party. The Mufti's Department of Negeri Sembilan decided that the practice of inheritance implemented by the Pepatih Customary is not contrary to Islamic law. Next, this practice has been made a customary practice for generations and is a custom or uruf held by the Malay community of descent Minangkabau who practice adat pepatih. Looking at those values contained in this practice and the noble purpose as well as the maslahah that arising from his custom or uruf. There is no contradiction in terms of law and in the Sharia perspective. After that, Islamic law recognized the uruf or adat that is considered to bring goodness, benefit and not contradict with the Quran and the Sunnah. In the system, division of customary land according to adat pepatih is based on customary practice or community uruf. Hence, it is parallel to religious teachings and does not contradict to the Sharia. In fact, customary land is not the property of an individual, rather it is belonging a tribe. Therefore, it cannot be considered as a property that must distribute to members of heirs according to the faraid. It also cannot be categorized as property that can be endowed through wakaf law because the conditions to make wakaf the property must be owned by a person perfectly. That's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Ainul Syafiqah binti Muhammad Nawi and I will explain about the issue and challenges about customary land in property management. First issue about customary land in property management is the method of the division of customary land inheritance. The existence of customary land administration law make the management and administration of estate quite different from other states. In general, the masculine section of the decree is twice as large as the feminine part, but there are the differential in certain customary law inheritance. We can see that the inheritors in adat pepatih communities tend to practice matrilineal principle in their customary law by prioritizing female heirs in inheritance, while in adat Temenggung custom use the principle of patrilineal practice which prioritize male heirs in the division of inheritance, which is practiced in societal norms. Gender differences should not be a problem as long as they do not result in gender inequalities. But the problem is it turned out the gender difference have given birth to various injustice both for men and especially for women seen as contrary to the provision of faraid law. The practice of inheritance of customary land is quite different from the practice of the concept of inheritance according to the Sharia, but the basic principle of customary land inheritance are not restricted by Islam, but even coincide with the uruf. Although adat pepatih only give the right to the female, but the right of male in fact not denied. This is because the right of inheritance was not the absolute right of the woman's heir. An ideal customary man is able to be independent and does not expect dependence on his mother's inheritance. The challenges for this issue is the young generation that have lacked knowledge about customary land and also the level of community understanding of the concept of customary land and customary landlord is declining. The solution for this issue is it is important to all the society get the knowledge about customary land so that the dispute and conflict about customary land did not exist anymore. The second issue is about the development of customary land. As we know, customary land is an important asset for indigenous people to ensure their survival. In the past, customary law was cultivated for economic activities such as paddy field, farming, and cultivation orchid crops. The development using customary land caused the community of customary land disagree with the action as well as provoke outrage among the residents. The issue happens when the compensation given to the entitled party is not the purchase price and the price cheaper than the value of the land. The problems in procurement occur because there is no agreement was reached on the price of compensation that caused the land acquisition process to be protracted. The effect to the customary land cannot be developed by the specific party. The other challenges to develop customary land is the issue that the customary land is not allowed to be easily transferable from one category to another, and the issue of the multiple ownership of customary land. Multiple land ownership make the customary land hard to undertake development or renting out of the land to developers. As a result, customary land are increasingly uncultivated. Production is declining and the area of ideal customary land is increasing. The best way to develop customary land is through wakaf. The method successfully serves the problem of inheritance and transfer of wakaf property as well as provided great return and benefit to the heirs of the land. Wakaf method is also used to develop land throughout Negeri Sembilan, such as the Kelana Beach Resort in Port Dickson, which involve cooperation between Negeri Sembilan Islamic Religious Council and several other government agencies. Based on the success of developing the existing wakaf land throughout Negeri Sembilan, it is not possible that a similar development method can be implemented to develop customary land using the wakaf method. That's all for me. We go to the next presenter.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Harisa Hakimah and I will continue this presentation with few suggestions that might help to improve the heritage and property management of customary land. Firstly, providing exposure from the aspect of education. Courses on property management should be disclosed to the community because the community's ambiguity on inheritance management procedures has created constraints. Information sessions on property management should also be disclosed to government officials to increase their credibility as officers in the customary property management chapter. Briefings, workshops, and seminars related to customary land issues should be implemented more frequently so that the level of community awareness customs are higher and can prevent unwanted things from happening, such as animosity between family members, misappropriation of property in vain, and so on. From the administrative aspect, the need for a guide manual on standard operating procedures (SOP) for property management related to customary land is seen as very relevant because the customary land community needs a quick guide and reference source on customary property management. This initiative can be done by updating the Department of Land and Mines portal website by putting more important information about customary land as much as possible. Through the reforms, this makes it very easier for the heirs and the customary land community, especially the young, to access and take note of information and important matters regarding customary land and its property management. In addition, there is also a proposal to review the legal procedures related to customary property management because it is said that the authority of customary institutions is now increasingly shaky and this has a direct impact on the position of customary law itself in society. Compared to the past, other institutions, especially adat property, have a mechanism to enforce custom rules in the event of default. But that is no longer the case. This resulted in no single support system to strengthen customary law institutions. Therefore, it is intended that the government, as the most powerful party in the management of customary land, to re-standardize the administration involving customary property as well as the statute and the administration of customary law, available to refill the requirements of customary law aimed at protecting the interests of the indigenous community itself. As a conclusion, I would like to highlight the practice of inheriting the heritage of the Adat property community, which involves customary land. It's a custom that is certified by Islamic law, and this practice is allowed in Islam. It shows less accurate facts as circulating in the society, and it needs to be corrected. The practice shows no signs that it is wrong on the part of Islam because there is no dalil or nas. However, there are still many issues, conflicts and legal loopholes that can still be improved from time to time in further strengthening the heritage of customary land in our country. It is expected the management of customary land-related properties involving property and Temanggung customs in several states and areas in Malaysia should be further enhanced so that the customary property management can be managed properly. The issues that have been discussed need to be addressed well by the authorities such as the government and administrators to maintain the practice of customary law in the community according to current conditions and needs in order to safeguard the interests of the community, especially the property and Temanggung customary communities. So that's all from me and our group members. Thank you so much for your interest and attention.